But you know, this is a great idea, and I really appreciate.
Hey guys, Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch, and I was digging through some of my VHS collection, and I found where I'd done a video, see, 5 years. It was about year '02. I did a video, and you say, well, what did I use? You remember these things? This was the first all self-contained VHS camcorder. I had one. I worked for Panasonic. And though it was really heavy and big, and the picture looked like you were looking through a magnifying glass or something, but it worked. And we had family. We had pictures of our family growing up with this camera. And what happened after that? Well, I'm talking to you right now on an iPhone 13 that also is a phone and everything else and does so much more than that does. Would you agree? And VHS tapes, okay? We went from VHS to smaller cassettes, and now we don't even use tapes. It just records right onto the hard drive. It's amazing, the technology and marketing. Now, I know that on this video I said, let's talk about electric, and we are. But one of the things I want to talk about electric is marketing. Things don't just come out and all of a sudden they're unbelievably cheap, unbelievably good, and everybody can afford to buy them. It doesn't work that way. It's called the bell curve. When a product comes out, it's not that good, but it does work, and everybody wants it. And it's very expensive, and there's not many of them. So the bell curve says, this comes out. Actually, this is a Magnavox. I worked for Panasonic. Panasonic was paid so much by Magnavox and some other manufacturers to produce this camcorder that they came out with these brands first before the Magnavox. Before the Panasonic. This is a Matsushita. Matsushita made a bunch of them. And in marketing, one guy has it, it's very expensive, everybody wants it. Then more manufacturers make it, the price comes down, the features go up, more people buy it. Then, it's fantastic, it's inexpensive, most everybody has one, and if they don't reinvent this thing, it will go down in market life. So this VHS camcorder made a lot of money for a lot of people in Japan. And then they came up with a better one, and a better one, and a better one. Do you think that they didn't already know when they came up with this? It was pre-planned obsolescence. They had to pay for this technology before they came up with C cassettes and all the other stuff. And before they said, well, let's just do away with that, just stick it all on the phone, say heck with it. That's marketing. That's the bell curve, right? So, knowing this, let's talk a little bit about electric cars. Fits the bell curve. Very few people have them. They're pretty expensive. They don't do everything that we want it to do, but it's pretty cool, and people like it. People were sporting these things around back in vacation days just to show that they got this thing on the shoulder. Electric cars. You know, what would have happened? There were electric cars in early 1900s. What would have happened if everybody stayed with electric cars and they didn't go to gasoline? So why did they go to gasoline? Because it was more convenient. And actually, the technology increased a little bit faster than electric did. So it went to petroleum-driven engines. But if it would have stayed in electric the whole time, By this time, the electric cars would have been fantastic because they'd gone through all the bell curve and all the redesign and they found out more ways to do things. And we would have been a lot further today, maybe, because technology has to come in with the need, and it all has to mesh together to be able to produce it and for the general public to grab it, to do it. I talked about all this because I want to compare this to what's happened with electric cars. This video is going to go in our database, and about almost 2 years ago I had done a video about electric and I explained a few things. Let's update that a little bit. All right, we love our GMCs, and we feel that these 455s and 403s and some other engines we put in are the way to go. But to be honest with you, the bell curve is pushing us toward something new. Why? Because everybody's got this. And people are looking, well, what's cool? What's the better thing, you know? So the marketing is driving the electric. Same way marketing drove camcorders, right? So what do they have out now? They have a Prius. They have some electric cars that are just electric. And people are arguing back and forth, just electric, hybrid, hydrogen. Isn't it funny that when you start talking about electric, the first thing that a lot of people do is pull out a calculator and start figuring out which one's the most cost effective. Dude, let me break that seal. None of it's cost effective. It's in the beginning of the bell curve. You're spending the money because you want it. It may not be the most cost effective. So throw the calculator away. Well, keep it and make sure you're not spending twice as much. But driving progress is not cheap. It's not cheap. It's very expensive. In the days of these camcorders, this sucker here was like $1,500 or something like that, maybe more. It was very, very expensive. Electric, as it moves through its marketing life, will be more cost effective. It will do more things for us. You know, we say, well, we want it to be just like gas. Well, it won't be just like gas. Okay? Well, maybe it will. Eventually, when it gets into hydrogen fuel cells or hydrogen ICE cars or anything like that. ICE is internal combustion engine, by the way. And they do have hydrogen ICE cars. Okay? So there's all these different markets. There's all these different formats out there. So, well, why isn't somebody throwing it in there? Think of it like this. The engineers want the money. It's all about the money. They want to attract the money for the greedy people that want to get in on the ground floor of electric, and they're going to hold it back until they get enough money. The technology is already there. Why doesn't somebody come out with something right now? Well, they got a Prius, but there is no real competition to a Prius, essentially. Electric has to first decide which direction it needs to go. Why are they having such a hard time? Everybody's standing next to the lake. Nobody wants to put their foot in the water because there's a gator in there. In the minute that somebody comes up with the specifications of a car or whatever, it gets knocked off immediately. Why? Because the technology is already past where we are right now. So all these car manufacturers have got all these ideas and stuff, but they're scared to jump in the market because, one, it's very expensive to tool up for a car like that. Number two, what happens when the next manufacturer comes out with something that's clearly better? It's not gonna bode well for your other technology. So they're all just sitting on the lake waiting. Find out which way this fickle marketing is going to take it. Okay. Now, almost 2 years ago when I made that video, there were no electric GMCs out there. There were concepts, there were ideas. There was no proof of concept. Well, this year, a guy did put a Tesla in a GMC, and I got to give him full credit. It's kind of like, again, the marketing. One guy comes out with it. Well, why can't we build all this? Well, Tesla. I mean, not Tesla. What was the car? Made 53 of them. I can't. It doesn't matter. Anyway, you have to be in the market. You know, Tucker. That's it. Tucker did not have the market on its side. Tucker was coming up with ideas, a helicopter motor in the back and headlight that moves, and an area in the front that if you see you're going to get in an accident, you throw yourself into the front to be safer. Those were ideas and concepts that the big three didn't want to talk about. So they did not support what Tucker was doing. Tucker made 53 of them, and that's as far as he could go. Why? Because the market wasn't behind him. Consumers weren't behind him because the consumers were looking at Ford, Chevy, and Chrysler, and Pace Arrow, and Studebaker, and all that kind of stuff. Tucker would have been a pretty cool car, right? But it didn't make it because in the marketing, it didn't fit and it didn't have enough support from the industry or from the consumer. Okay? Let's run 50 years or 75 years forward. Electric is now in the same situation. All right, the big three would be happy just to keep going with gas, but this electric, Tesla gets in there and makes a viable car. And again, it's expensive, but it's a start. He threw it out there. He threw the gauntlet out there, and now everybody's moving at him. Okay. A Tesla GMC is a cool idea. It's a proof of concept. Now, the bean counters can get the calculator out and he can drive that thing and see how far it'll go. Put more batteries in it. 3 years ago, we ran the numbers. You could put a Tesla 2 motor and 3,800 pounds of old Tesla batteries and go 300 miles. Kind of, sort of. What happens at the end of 300 miles? And you got to stop and whatever. Okay. The Ford Lightning truck has proven that it doesn't work. Try to pull a trailer. The distance is cut down so dramatically that I would have to say right now, the proof of concept of a true all-electric truck is not quite ready. Okay? The drivetrain is not quite ready. It's not ready for the things that a truck would be used for. Okay? A friend of mine bought a Ranger electric truck, and he was talking to the salesman, and he asked the salesman, he said, well, how does this thing work when you put stuff in the back? And you load it down. And the salesman said, it hauls air just as good as most other trucks that are on the road. And you know, that's true. We don't really, I've got a truck, I don't put that much stuff in it. And so in that situation, electric truck probably work. But if you load a truck down, if you put a trailer on it, an electric truck, it just doesn't make it. Okay? So right now, it's a novelty. You notice you didn't see any Dodge Ram electric trucks. Watch here shortly. Dodge and Fiat have been working together. If you look at the Dodge Ram full-size van, it has a Fiat front-wheel drive drivetrain in it. The first one they came out with was a V6 transverse-mounted 6-speed 300 foot-pounds of torque. That might work. They also have a diesel. And now word is that they have a hybrid. Okay? Look up Fiat Panda. This is a subcompact hybrid car that they're coming up with. Dodge Ram is going to come up with a hybrid truck shortly. Now, think about the needs of a GMC and what a hybrid truck offers. Hybrid truck would run on electric until it gets down too far, and then it cuts on the gas. Or you use electric at low speeds, you get on the highway, and the gas cuts on. That's a pretty good scenario for a motorhome. So I would tell you to watch the hybrid industry. Watch the hybrid industry, because think about it. Your GMC has a generator for living area, and then it has an engine for moving. So there's two motors. If you could combine those two motors into one, like a hybrid, you're parked, you're dry camping, you run the motor. So, whoa, run the motor? Yeah, run the motor. It creates electric. You're on the highway and you're all charged up and you leave the park, you're on electric. You get going 3 hours down the road, your electric craps out, it goes to gas, and you finish your ride. For right now, marketing a hybrid to an RV is actually a pretty decent idea. Okay? Now, don't think that I'm going to come up with some epiphany and all this other stuff's no good and this is the way to go. That's not the case. There are a lot of different concepts out there. And hybrid hasn't been talked about. Now, it came out early, right? The hybrid Prius and some other ones came out. Remember the Yukon, full-sized Yukon SUV, four-wheel drive hybrid truck? GM called them all back. Why? Because they wanted to go to their electric platform. Their whole concept changed. They decided not to go into hybrid. But there are a lot of people that are doing hybrid. I would like to see, as soon as Fiat and Chrysler get together and come up with the Dodge hybrid Ram pickup truck. Let's look at those specifications and see if that drivetrain can be integrated into a GMC. That way, the electric generation for a living area can be handled. The electric distance is not what stops you, because you have also a hybrid, which you have a gas engine. Down the road, you could have a hydrogen ICE motor, internal combustion engine running on hydrogen. Where's the hydrogen going to come from? From the professional truckers. Hydrogen will be the next, will be, who knows, in marketing. But it seems that the energy availability and all the things that go with hydrogen goes well for big trucks, for heavy lift vehicles. All right? So if we get into a hybrid situation, gas and electric, and slowly go from gas to a hydrogen for a hydrolyzer on board to create hydrogen on board to run the hydrogenized motor, hey, that's getting a little closer to what we need, you know? So watch the electric market. Watch where it's going. Somebody says, well, wait for these hub motors to come out. We'll put 6 hub motors on there. And guys, think about this. There are 3 things on an electric vehicle. 1 is the drivetrain and controls. 2 is the energy source, whether it's a rubber band or whatever it is. And then 3, you need a shape that's aerodynamically sound that allows the drive system and the energy source to be efficient and effective. GMC Motorhome has that aerodynamic advantage. A pickup truck has a frontal drag coefficient of about 0.4, 0.5. Motorhome is close to 1. A Prius is 0.21. Well, it has to be for that little weenie motor to push that car. And if you notice aerodynamically, it's got some weird shapes to it that in a wind tunnel drops that aerodynamic friction. That's the thing that electric or any vehicle has to overcome, is the drag. A GMC was designed in a wind tunnel. Say, why? Well, they didn't want to have all that noise. Because if you drive in a Winnebago in 1972, you'd have to talk like this because all the wind noise would be all over the place. So GM looked at it and said, let's get rid of that wind noise. Let's make it aerodynamic. Well, today, that aerodynamic is in efficiency. 0.28 with nothing on the roof. A GMC body has a shape that has aerodynamic advantage. So of the 3 parts of an electric vehicle, we already have the aerodynamic shape. All we need to do is to wait for these guys to argue about what kind of drivetrain is it going to be, what kind of control systems and all that, and then what kind of energy source, whether it's a battery, whether it's hydrogen, or whether it's whatever it is. They have to decide these 2 things, but we're already there, brother. We can already do it, right? And that's the advantage that a GMC has. One, marketing, it's been accepted. The shape of it, the size of it has been accepted. That goes a long way. Because it's 50 years old and everybody says, wow, that thing's better looking than anything on the road. So that's our advantage. The GMC has the aerodynamic advantage. And we want to wait until the drivetrain catches up to us. It might be hybrid. It might be electric with some fancy new battery. Or it might be some fancy new drivetrain that takes less battery. Whatever the technology goes, we're ready because we have the aerodynamic advantage. Okay, I'm very excited about the guy that put the Tesla in, and there's another guy that I've talked to good 3 years ago that wanted to do this on a 23, and he's come back into it and wants to do it again, and that's wonderful. Okay, we need proof of concept. We need to get things out there to say, oh, this is great, but it doesn't do this, and then we need to, technology needs to bring it forward. Right? I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I saw a couple of threads on on the social network about electric, and they were talking about the guy that had done the Tesla GMC was on there. Great input, great talk. But I wanted to put this out, let you guys kick back a little bit and wait, and let's see where the drivetrain goes, and let's watch what Fiat and Chrysler comes up with the Dodge Ram truck. Look at their van right now, their full-size van. They've already got into the Fiat stuff. All right. All right. Well, thank you for your time. Hit like if there's anything here that is interest to you. I wanted you ranch hands to be up to date on where we are in electric. All right. I'd love to do it. I talked about it 2 years ago, but it's the engineering right now is too expensive, and the hardware right now, hub motors, bigger batteries, it's not available right now. You see it online, it's all vapor. There aren't any actual hub motors. You can go down and open a box and buy one. Okay, little bit premature. When they do have hub motors, or when they do have large hybrid engines, or when they do have larger batteries, that's going to bring it into the marketing for a GMC or a motorhome to be a viable thing. There are electric motorhomes out right now, but they really don't go very far. They're really big, and they're really expensive. Kind of like this camcorder. All right, guys. Well, look, thanks for your time. I hope you learned something here. Click like and all that kind of stuff. And we'll end this video. I'll let you see some of the stuff that I talked about in 2001.
And some other things.
Thanks a lot.
You know, this is a great idea. And I really appreciate you guys spending time. I appreciate Jessica coming up with the collaboration to put it together, and I hope it works out. We'll have a lot of fun with it. I couldn't get away. The guys told me I had to tell you an idea. I mean, you were saying that you wanted to do a scenario of Burning Man. You know what Burning Man is? I mean, it's like a week of debauchery, building flaming structures and then burning them up. Think about this. Burning Man. We build one for Burning Man. We get a huge older motorhome. Cut off 5 or 7 feet of the back of it. Make a platform out the back.
Oh my!
And then build a gantry with a.
Where was I?
With a
We'll see you guys next time.
Riding down the